What it do? Welcome to Club 32, and today we're dropping Club 32's top 32 pending free agents overall, regardless of position. For every player, you'll be getting the same quick breakdown. You'll get a 2025 season stats, why that player matters, whether I feel like they will get re-signed or they're going to hit the open market, and then we're going to evaluate their market value for that position versus the market demand for that. I'll evaluate that metric on a scale from 1 to 10, and then I will give you what I feel my best three-team fits for that player is based off of their skill position. And availability. We're going to be running this in tiers. This today is tier 3, doing positions, doing numbers 24 through 17. So this is still a countdown, and today we'll be starting at number 24. We're going to jump straight into it. But before we do, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you can stay in the loop with Club 32. Let's go. Jumping straight into it, number 24, Devin Lloyd, linebacker for the Jaguars, 2025 season stats, defensive player, if you didn't know, but 15 games played, 15 games started, 81 tackles, 33 solo, 46 assists, 1.5 sacks, 7 passes defended, 5 interceptions, 135-yard total off of the interceptions. 1 touchdown, 0 forced fumble. Why this player matters, I feel like they matter because he seems to be a playmaking off-ball linebacker who flips possessions. 5 interceptions and a TD from a linebacker is game-changing production nonetheless. He's also a modern LB. Can run, cover, attack. He can clog up the throwing lanes. It's not just, stacking up tackles or whatnot. The likely outcome that I'll see in this situation, if I think they're going to resign him or if he's going to hit the open market, I'm going to lean towards the market because, I don't know, they have a lot of moving pieces over there in Jacksonville, and I think they'll go out here and test the market and free agency in the draft and try to build up other pieces on that defense. But when a linebacker has a splash season like this, he becomes one of the few at the position who can command real money because he changes games in coverage. Jacksonville can keep him, but if negotiating lags or the number gets premium, another team will happily pay for that turnover production. When I look at the market value versus the league need for Devin Lloyd in his linebacker position for this type of production, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Off-ball linebacker isn't always treated as a premium, but true coverage and playmaking linebackers are very scarce and highly valuable to pass defenses. Teams that live in nickel and struggle in the middle of the field will rate him closer to a 9. The best team fits that I see for Mr. Lloyd, if he so happens to hit the market, which I believe he will, is the Broncos, the Cowboys, or the Buccaneers. These teams could use a middle-of-the-field playmaker who improves coverage integrity and adds turnover creation without constant blitzing. It's a very interesting one to see what happens with the linebacker position over here with Devin, but we're going to pay attention to that. Like all of the other pending free agents and where they may go or where they might not go. A lot of them might stay home, but nonetheless, moving on to 23, Isaiah Likely, tight end from the Ravens. His 2025 season stats, he had 14 games played, started 17 games. 14 games, started 7 games. I'm true. 27 receptions for 307 yards. He averaged 11.4 yards per reception. Had 1 touchdown, though. Longest reception of the season was 43 yards. Why does he matter? Because he's an athletic tight end who can threaten seams and can create chunk plays. He's more than a check down option. Even on a lighter stat year, he's the kind of weapon that changes how defenses handle 12 personnel. The likely outcome in this situation, if I'm looking at a re-sign versus him hitting the market, I'm going to lean more towards a re-sign in this situation. Baltimore values multi-tight end flexibility, or they used to. We don't know. Jesse Minter might be on a whole new regime. But nonetheless, and then if looking at them letting a capable pass catching tight end walk, it could potentially shrink the offense. If he hits the market, though, it's because another team offers a bigger feature role, probably, plus money that Baltimore may not be willing to match. Looking at the market value for this position, um, combined with the league need for it, I'm gonna put it on the 6 out of 10. Tight end demand varies from team to team, but offenses missing a reliable, tight end 2 or tight end 1B will absolutely shop here. Absolutely. His market is strongest where coaches want mismatch speed and motion versatility, not just inline blocking, to say the least. But if Mr. Likely is so happen to find himself in the open market, the best 3 team fits that I see could be potentially the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Packers. These teams can maximize tight end usage and spacing concepts and red zone design, letting Likely be a real receiving piece rather than an afterthought. I like Isaiah. I'm still kind of hung up on the toe, you know, the non-toe drag swag, if you will. And no, that was a tough one. No, he really should have. No, I'm never saying. I mean, he did toe up, but I mean, but it was another game. Mm, mm, mm. These officials got to get it together. But hey, Mr. Likely, if we see you on the market, man, hope you land well and you can increase that production with your new team. But moving on to 22, Romeo Dobbs, wide receiver from the Packers, looking at his 2025 season. He had 16 games played, started in 15 of those, had 55 receptions for 724 yards, averaged 13.2 yards per reception, had 6 touchdowns on the seasons, along with the longest reception of his season was 48 yards. Why does he matter? Well, he matters because he's a reliable chain mover who also finds the end zone. So, I mean, that's a real QB friendly receiver that helps an offense stay on schedule, if you will. And with 6 touchdowns, he's not just a volume guy. He contributes to scoring. So, I mean, you got to give due what due is due. Give credit who credit is due. But the likely outcome in this situation, I'm seeing either them re-sign or let him hit the market. Um, it's a 50-50 for me. It's a 50-50 for me. I don't know. This one kind of 50-50. Because Green Bay tends to develop wide receivers pretty well and could keep him, for the right price, whatever. But wide receiver markets get inflated with multiple when multiple teams need starters. And if he believes he can get paid as a high-end wide receiver 2, testing the market is very realistic. So I think he'll test the market, though. I guess it'll all come down to negotiation. And if he feel like, I don't know. It depends on what these players want. If he feels like, he can contribute to a championship caliber team, and that's a move that they're getting ready to make now, then definitely he probably would be more inclined to make that decision. But if he feels his value would, be best suited elsewhere, then I wouldn't, I wouldn't, it wouldn't behoove me to see that he would actually go out here and test the open market. Looking at the market value, though, versus the league need for this position right here, given the production of Mr. Dobbs, I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. The league always needs dependable pass catchers, but the wide receiver supply is larger than premium positions, and his value rises most for teams needing a clean, steady starter more than a pure wide receiver 1 takeover type of guy. If he does take the theory of hitting the open market, then the best 3 team fits that I see for Mr. Dobbs are the Titans, the Patriots, and the Panthers. These teams need trustworthy targets that can reduce quarterback volatility and convert drives for sure. I mean, you want to be able to make things a lot easier on your young signal caller, and having reliable targets definitely does that. I mean, Dobbs fits that very much. So he seems to be the type of receiver that can just keep the team at least functional from week to week, and couple that with a nice wide receiver room, then he can definitely be an asset as he's been to the Packers in another environment. I don't know. That's definitely you tell me what you think. You think he gonna stay? He gonna go? Let me know, man. But moving on to number 21, Malik Willis, quarterback for the Packers, 2025 season stats. We're gonna look at his passing and his rushing stats. So for passing, he played 4 games. He started one. Total went 33. I'm sorry, 30 for 35 on his attempts versus completions. That's 85.7%, which isn't bad at all. 422 passing yards total, averaging about 12.1 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Had a 145.5 QB rating. Took 3 sacks, lost for 15 yards, 22 rushing yards, 122 rushes on 123 rushing yards, 5.6 per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. Did have 2 fumbles and end up losing one of those 2. Why does he matter? Well, he seems to be developing into a real dual threat that, at least that's the upside we can see, especially if he's able to keep things efficient as he's been in his tenure with the Packers. They seem to have developed him a lot better than he was developed in Tennessee. But he wasn't just like surviving, he was pushing the ball and protecting it. And the rushing touchdowns show that he brings a red zone problem, solving situation that can change your play calling menu very, very fast. The likely outcome in this situation versus if I see Green Bay bringing him back to continue to back up Love, or if he's going to hit the market, I'm going to lean more towards the market because, I think Green Bay has their starter plan. So Willis's best path is a team that offers a more clear QB1 bridge opportunity, if you will. If multiple teams need a starter or a high-end QB2, he'll have leverage to chase the best role and situation. The market value league need that I see for Mr. Willis, given his position, is a 9 out of 10. I mean, QB demand is relentless. Even starter capable, nonetheless, options become hot commodities because so many teams are one injury or, one failed rookie away. So the score isn't, just 10 out of 10 only because his 2025 sample is limited, which adds a projected risk. We need to see more continuity and consistency from Willis, but what he was able to show in his Green Bay debut or debuts, however you want to put it, it's quite impressive and definitely would garner some curiosity out of teams looking to add some depth or fill in that quarterback position. But if he tests the open market, a lot of people are connecting him to the Dolphins because of Jeff Hafley. I'm not sure. That could definitely be the case. The 3 that I picked out, I would say the Raiders, the Steelers, and the Browns. The Raiders are definitely probably going with Fernando, number 1 overall. But additionally, it's also great to have a good veteran behind Mr. Mendoza because you want that veteran presence that can guide the young guy along, teach him the ropes, the ins and outs of the game. But also you want that viable starter on your team, not to just guide your young starter, but to be in position to help carry the team if need be. Given that regardless of how hot he is and coming out, it's not always guaranteed that Mr. Mendoza is just going to, it's going to have a Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud type of season. And if he so struggles, I would say let him sit a year, honestly. I noticed that seems to be the better way. But sometimes teams come out and they figure it out. Let them learn. But yeah. And then, maybe if you're QB2 or you're a veteran, if they aren't rocking, then, then you can bring them in maybe after learned or, you let him start. And if he's not hot, you take him out. I don't know how they're going to approach it. But, nonetheless, Malik Willis, if he's out of Green Bay, I think he's done enough to definitely he'll be somewhere. He won't be out there on the market. I think somebody will definitely pick him up. He definitely will pick him up. But nonetheless, moving up the list to number 20. All right. 2-0. Mr. Kyle Pitts, tight end from the Falcons. 2025 season stats. He played 17 games and started in 17 games. He had 88 receptions for 928 yards, 10.6 yards per reception, 5 touchdowns. His longest reception of the season was 36 yards. Why does Kyle Pitts matter? He matters because he seems to be developing into a matchup tight end who forces defenses to declare coverage. Too big for defensive back, too fast for most linebackers. And with 88 catches, I think that's a lot more than potential. This seems to be real weekly involvement, meaning he can be a featured piece in the right system. The likely outcome right here versus re-sign versus the market. To be honest with you, though, I wouldn't be surprised if they re-signed him. If they re-sign him, I mean, look, honestly, I don't know. I think they can really utilize him. I would be curious to see how Kevin Stefanski will utilize him in this new system if they were to bring him back. A tight end who produces at near 1,000 yards while staying healthy, it's kind of hard to replace for real, for real. And Atlanta will be betting against their own offense if they let him leave. I mean, like I said, if he does hit the market, it's because the contract that they asked for reached, its territory. I mean, it may be going into top tier pass catcher money, and they might not see him at that value, which is understandable. I mean, we're not going to sit here and say that Pitts has been the most productive tight end, but he. I'm real iffy about all these 1 year things that pop up and stuff. Everybody talk about Kenneth Walker, and I'm gonna get to him in a minute. Super Bowl MVP, and I don't have nothing to get. He great season, but last year he did 500 yards. I mean, in 12 games, I think it was an injury year. That year prior to that, it was 900. Year prior to that, it was 1,000. Since coming out as a rookie, he's been consistently in that outside of last year. But you got to be careful with a lot of these performances that teams fall in love with. So I'm not sure exactly where Kyle Pitts will fit in at, but I will say this: if he can build off of the production that he has last year, retaining him in Atlanta would be feasible. If that's the direction we're going, and he can keep giving us what we thought he could. But then you're betting on it, and if not, and if you think that you'd be betting on a better future and moving in a different direction, then hopefully the offense from the Falcons can prove that. But hopefully kids, I keep saying kids, I don't want to call them kids for. Hopefully, they don't hear the cow in kids for. Hopefully Pitts can find himself in another productive system and then start to develop. I love to see guys get to where they're supposed to be, And so hopefully he can develop into, the tight end that a lot of people have been saying, this is the year. Here we go. Like he's coming this year. So I don't know. Last year was decent. Won't take away from him. Pretty good. Almost hit 1,000-yard season. 5 touchdowns. Averaging 10. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. Great production. I like that for my tight end. So, yeah, nonetheless. But if I'm looking at the market value versus the actual demand in this position here, like I said, yeah, I don't know. They may bring them back. I mean, they may bring them back. But I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because, I mean, if you can find, elite receiving tight ends, I mean, it's rare to really find them. And, but what it can do is create structural advantages. Red zone, third down, middle of the field stress on linebackers defense. You can really do that, but the need isn't league-wide, desperate like an offensive tackle, for instance. But for contenders that's missing a tight end 1 or 1B, the value is definitely very massive. Him hitting the market outside of Atlanta, the best 3-team fits that I see for Mr. Pitts could be the Bengals, the Chargers, or the Jaguars. These offenses would weaponize him immediately. Seam, stress, red zone mismatch, and easy completions for the quarterback seems to be a no-brainer in teams to be looking to strengthen their tight end room. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually hits the market that he would actually get that. I think he get competitive pay, to say the least. To say the least. So, all right, moving on. Travis Etienne, number 18, Mr. Jacksonville Jaguar running back. 2025 season stats. Played 17 games, started 16. Had 260 rushes for 1,107 rushing yards, averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Had 7 rushing touchdowns. On the receiving side of things, had 36 receptions for 292 receiving yards, 8.1 yards per reception, 6 receiving touchdowns, 1 fumble that he did not lose. Why does he matter? Because he seems to be a true dual threat running back. Can run zone, gap concepts, and threaten as a receiver, which keeps personnel honest. I mean, those 6 receiving touchdowns are a loud signal that he can be a mismatch weapon, not just a runner. The likely outcome in this situation, if we're looking for a re-sign versus him hitting the market, this is another one I'm kind of 50-50 on. They might let him test the market because they might want to test it themselves. But nonetheless, Jacksonville can justify keeping him because he impacts the passing game in a way that most backs just don't. But R&B, our running back contracts are where teams get cold feet kind of fast. If Etienne was, let's say, if he wants featured weapon money, then and he may test the market and let the demand set the price for itself. Looking at the market value versus the league demand for this position, I'm going to rate this a 7 out of 10. Running back isn't valued like QB, edge, and offensive tackle, but pass game backs who can score are always attractive to modern offenses. The demand spikes for teams that want easy throws, screen game juice, and red zone flexibility. If I'm looking at the best 3 team fits for Travis Etienne, you can keep it in division. You can take him to the Texans, which would be very interesting to put him over there. The Texans. So probably him and Marks, probably let Chubb go. That's an interesting tandem. The Chargers have been looking for a true RB1 for like a minute, man. I don't know, man. Mario Hampton, we'll see. I'll let the Rook bounce back this year, but I mean he wasn't horrible, but I don't know, And then the Chiefs, man, the Chiefs need a good running back over there. They really do. I think they brought back Kareem Hunt. They got Isaiah Pacheco. They might be wanting to make moves over there. Not sure who they're keeping. I believe Hunt might have been on a 1-year deal. I got to look into no, but these offenses would maximize his receiving value and create space touches, letting him win mismatch situations instead of forcing constant grind carries. So, it'd be interesting to see if Jacksonville, did decide to move on from Travis Etienne because I'm not going to say he has Alvin Kamara-like potential, but he definitely can be a dual threat when healthy and constant in games. And that's something that you don't take away from that type of play, especially if you can get it from a player at a decent value. So, moving on up, edge rusher, Khalil Mack. Wow, the Big Mac is back, the Mac attack. Edge rusher for the Chargers, 2025 season stats. Played in 12 games, started in 11, 32 tackles, 19 solo, 13 assists, 5.5 sacks, 1 safety, 0 passes defended, 0 interceptions. Why does he matter? Well, I mean, you got a veteran edge who can still create chaos with power and his hands and timing, and he really doesn't, need pure speed directed drives. I mean, even with fewer games, he's still the type that forces quick throws and protection slides. So, hey, the likely outcome when we're looking at a re-sign versus him hitting the market, I'm leaning more towards the market in this scenario. At this stage, it's usually about money and, ring chasing, and role clarity. They just want to know what they got to do, more than just, kind of just staying put and loyal to a team. So the Chargers can absolutely keep him if they want to, but if the number and, the term aren't aligned with what they're trying to do, he's the type of plug and play pass rusher that, can go out there for rental for a contender, without an issue. So, either way, I think the Mac will be fine. But if I'm looking at the market value versus the demand for this position, definitely ranking in at an 8 out of 10. Pass rush is always in demand, like we said earlier, and teams will pay for proven production. Especially a veteran who can still win without being, scheme free. I mean, who can still win without being scheme free. Um, the score isn't 10 out of 10 because age typically caps the league, guarantees and, and like a lot of not interest there. So we understand that he is getting up in age, but the production is still there. And it wouldn't be bad to have a veteran rotation piece along any type of, you know, edge rusher room that you might be putting together nonetheless. And yeah, last but not least, we're gonna bring it home with number 9. Oh no, I'm sorry, number 17, topping off this list, Kenneth Walker, third Super Bowl MVP, running back for the Seahawks. Why do you say why is he not number one on this? Well, this list is of all positions across the league, and it's only 32. I'm only doing 32. All right, top these tier 3. All right, win now difference makers. Okay, is he not that? All right, let me get there. But let's give him his flowers and kudos, and let's roll on with his 2025 season stats. 17 games played, 17 games started, 221 rushes on 1,027 rushing yards, averaging 4.6 yards per carry, 5 rushing touchdowns, had 31 receptions for 282 receiving yards, averaging 9.1 yards per reception, had 0 receiving touchdowns, did have a fumble that he did not lose. Why does he matter? Outside of the obvious, is a home run runner with real volume capability. He gives you explosive runs. He the way that he gives you access to that without needing everything blocked perfectly, can't be mad at that. And then, I mean, honestly, that 9.1 yard per reception shows that he's not, a zero in the pass game either. He can punish linebackers in space. And for teams looking to create those mismatches, he would be just the guy to fill in to do that. Likely outcome, resign versus market. They said that they're not going to tag him. They may give him a multi-year deal. I mean, a young, productive running back with featured traits usually stays unless, the contract, that they talking about just goes nuclear or the team pivots philosophically. Seattle also has every reason to keep stability in the backfield if they're, going to stay in that compete now mode. So they want to be the defending champs, and I mean, you keep them in here to defend. I mean, that's what you have to do. The market value that I see for this position versus the league-wide demand is a 7 out of 10. Maybe slightly higher because of the player caliber that we're talking about and who Mr. Walker has proven himself to be as of late. But teams always want the explosive running backs. But the market typically stays, rational unless you're a true offensive centerpiece. His value is strongest to teams that want to clear, running back one identity and a run game punch in there. If the Seahawks were to move on and they were to look in another direction, the 3 best teams that I see that could fit Mr. Walker is the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Vikings. These teams would love a back who can create yards on his own and keep the offense out of 3rd and 8 type of life. Like they want to keep these third downs short and competitive. We don't want to live on 3rd and long. We don't. And as all these pieces move around and we really see, how it comes together, it's all about the systems that they fit in and the volume and how they'll fit into their new schemes. or the same schemes. I mean, who knows? They could be in the same scheme. Maybe they'll switch up their approach. Maybe they'll keep it the same. We don't know nonetheless. But there it is. That's my tier 3 win down different makers. Number 24 through 17, running it back, Devin Lloyd, Isaiah Lockley, Romeo Dobbs, Malik Willis, Kyle Pitts, Travis Etienne Jr., Khalil Mack, and Kenneth Walker III. Next episode, we'll be jumping into tier 2. All right. This would be numbers 16 through 9. And we're going to break all that down in the same fashion. With all of that being said, I just want to say that that's another one in the books from Club 32. Thank you for coming through and rocking out with the club. Make sure to follow us at Club 32GP so you can stay connected with the club for all of our NFL breakdowns and for your chance to be a guest on the show and represent your squad the way that you want to. Until next time, it's been real, and good luck with your team because we're going to talk about them too. Look, I appreciate you for stopping by. Be safe. I'm out.